I'm going to show you how I updated my parents' vanity from this super dark stain to a much lighter, more natural looking stain. I apologize in advance that the beginning of this video is vertical. I accidentally deleted the footage of the beginning of this project from my memory card, so I had to use the videos that I took on my phone for my TikToks, but stick with me, I promise it's only for a small portion of the video. After taking off the drawer faces and doors, I started with Citrus Strip. I've actually never used Citrus Strip before, and I must say I was very underwhelmed by the results. I almost wish I would have started sanding from the start. I covered everything in the Citrus Strip and wrapped it in plastic to give it longer working time, because Citrus Strip only works if it's still wet. Then I let it sit overnight to give as much working time as possible. Once I came back the next day, I got to scraping and scraping and scraping, and using more citrus strip and scraping some more. I also used a stripping pad, which seemed to help a lot more than just the putty scraper alone. Here you can see the difference between the stripping pad and then just using the citrus strip alone. I also use citrus strip on the actual vanity. Make sure to tape this off because it's just really messy. Then take the tape off once you're done using the citrus strip and retape for staining. Once I was done with the entire citrus strip process, I cleaned everything with mineral spirits and then got to sanding my little heart out. This took a lot of work because the stain was so dark. Everything was solid maple except the center panels on the doors were a veneer, so I had to be careful with those as to not burn through that veneer. I started with 60 grit sandpaper to get off the majority of the remaining black stain, and then I went in with my detail sander to get in all of the nooks and crannies and corners. I really only hand sanded between the center panel and the stiles and rails on the doors. I didn't even get this completely clean, which ended up looking fine with the new stain. I took everything down to a 120 grit after that and then finished out with a 220 grit. While I was soaking my brush in mineral spirits, I used a tack cloth to wipe everything down to prep for staining. I did want to mention that I did not completely get all of the stain off these inside areas just because you're not going to be able to see them on the final product. After that, it was time to stain. I started with the vanity and then worked my way through the drawer faces and doors, which I also wiped down with a tack cloth to make sure they were clean before staining. The stain I used for this project was Minwax Special Walnut. I let it sit on the wood for about 15 minutes before I wiped it off to try to get some really good color out of it. Once I let the stained wood sit for about a day, I went in with a satin polyurethane to try to keep the wood looking as natural as possible. I did about 3 coats of the polyurethane on everything just to try to provide quite a bit of protection since this is going to be a somewhat high use area being a cabinet. I really love getting to the point of doing the polyurethane because it's hard to screw up and it means you're almost done with a project. Then I started getting everything put back together. I put some new hardware on and the hinges back on the doors. I put the doors back on the vanity along with the faceplates back on the drawers. One issue I ran into was with the toe kick. I couldn't get the old toe kick off without damaging the walls, so what I ended up doing was taking a new toe kick that was stained on one side and was also made out of maple. I stained the unfinished side to match the stain on the rest of the vanity. I cut that down and then just tacked it in over the old toe kick. Since this added width to the toe kick, I had to cut down the trim pieces to make them fit back in their original spots. And then I tacked those in and got them caulked, and then I was done with this project. I'm really happy how this turned out. It added a lot of brightness to this bathroom compared to just the old black and gray that was in here before, and it achieves the organic modern look that my parents are going for. The plan is for me to eventually add some tile backsplash and change out the light fixtures, faucets, and mirrors to match the black hardware, updating this builder grade bathroom to a more custom look. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.